Welcome to Superside. This is the Netherlands round 7 of the Superside FIM Sidecar World Championship. And what a race we're in for. We've got 2 rounds coming this weekend. Round 7, round 8, all mixed in with the end of the championship. 50 points on offer over the next 2 days, and could be a championship deciding couple of days. Down on the grid, everyone's ready. We see the umbrellas up, maybe for a reason today, as the cloud cover has come back. Wet session earlier today for final qualifying meant that yesterday's times were used. So there you see the extra race in the calendar there. Tomorrow will be round 8. That's because the Malaysia round was cancelled earlier in the year. So we're going to get the full 10 rounds of Superside action. Fairly busy on the grid there. Look at this circuit here. The change from last year took effect. The lap record there, Webster and Woodhead, 2:11. 6 kilometres around this circuit, and Webster must be called the master of Assen. 5 wins, 7 podiums here in his long career. Since 1984 he's been racing here, including that magnificent crash he had for us in 85. Norman Burgess, welcome to commentary.
Yeah, thanks there, Rob. Yeah, Webster and Woodhead have the lap record, and I think we're going to see some action from them today.
Yes, Phil Biggs saw some action in the final qualifying. There we see him on screen. Weather overcast now. The clouds have really come in, and I expect it to be wet within maybe 15 minutes, half an hour. That will really test things. Track temperature 23 degrees and air temperature 21. So for once we see the air temperature colder than the track temperature. Webster and Woodhead on pole again, 25 in a row for the Super Pole Masters. 2:10.9, so that's pretty much on par with last year. Abbott and Biggs have done well for second on the grid. Got a new exhaust system we'll talk about later on. Steinhausen and Hopkinson struggling with suspension all weekend. Hanks and Biggs, we saw Phil Biggs there before. He had a little trip down the road in the final qualifying, said it was a bit of brain fade. Van Gils, the locals, and Klaffenbach way down in 6th on qualification. Skeen and Miller, the Scots from Philp and Yendel. Menge, the French team, Team JNS there in 9th position on front of row 5, followed by the British champions Gatt and Randall, just ahead of their compatriots Reeves. Steenbergen's wildcards again, they joined us at Brands Hatch, and Rocher and Harney, they're pretty well up in the championship, but qualified down in 13th. Founds and Founds, Hausenberger and Simons in 15th. Simons with a very, very sore shoulder, big crash for him anyway, the bite was okay. But, yeah, we'll talk about his shoulder and the bits of bone floating around it during the race. It's the 5-minute board goes up there on the grid. Webster pulls his helmet out of the sidecar.
Rob, it's been declared a dry race. This is definitely a dry race, so they'll be setting up, the competitors will be setting off with the chosen tyre, probably a slick. So what we'll wait for is Steve Webster here on the warm-up lap. He'll lead the field around, and if he sees some spots of rain on his visor, he can put his hand up, and then we'll have a decision made. We'll wait for everything to come up on our screens and tell us what's going on. There's Abbott and Biggs, the current champions there. 2nd position on the grid, Jamie Biggs. He's pretty relaxed about life generally, and I think Abbott's been struggling a little bit with the new engine and the new chassis. Quite a large move to move and defend your World Championship with using a new engine and chassis, but it looks like they're getting used to the setup now.
Steinhausen and Hopkinson there. Had a huge win at Lausitzring in the German Championship last weekend, but funnily enough are struggling with setup here. Not the right thing for them. Normally they're really good.
Very technical track, Rob, and yes, setup is very, very important, especially suspension, especially tyres, and it looks like Jorg in the early qualifying sessions didn't have anything like a proper setup, but towards the end of the session he'd tweaked the suspension a little bit, and he'd chosen another set of tyres, and yet he came through to qualify in 3rd place.
Yes, there's the locals. Van Gils very happy with their 5th position on the grid. They've got a huge amount of fans here. The hospitality out the back has been heaving, and they'll be definitely up for a good home round at Assen.
I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing there, Rob, to have your home Grand Prix, but yes, they've had to do a lot of catering, and yes, looking after sponsors, and it does tend to take your mind off the actual sport of sidecar racing.
Klaus Klaffenbach we saw there, 6th place. He's had engine dramas all weekend.
Klaus Klaffenbach, he has had major problems. He's been changing engines like the weather's been changing, Rob, and I'm still not sure that he's got it right at the moment.
That was Skeen and Miller there, doing pretty well. But here we see the final good luck from Jack Muldoon to Steve Webster.
Just a quick one on Jock Skeen there. He is the wet weather wizard, and this morning during qualifying, I think he was 3rd in the wet weather qualifying, and yes, he looks extremely aggressive, I would say, Rob, in the wet, and maybe if the weather does change for the worst, should I say, we could see some action from the Flying Scot.
Championship standings, Webster and Woodhead lead by 6 points from Klaffenbach and Partzer. Steinhausen, Hopkinson a little bit back on 81, but there is 50 points on offer in the next 2 days. Abbott and Biggs, defending champions, will struggle from 4th place at this part of the season. Rocher and Harney have been consistent. That's the only reason why they're in 5th place so far. No big finishes, but consistent race finishes around 6th and 7th, and that's what sees them in such a good place in the championship.
I think, Rob, with it being a 2-day event and lots of points being made available, we're going to maybe see some changes in the championship table.
Okay, I think we've got Ian Guy in pit lane. What's the weather like, Ian Guy?
Yeah, hi guys. Well, it has been spitting with rain down here on the grid, but the race will start as a dry race at the moment. But there was a lot of talk going on about if Webbo thought it was too wet on the warm-up lap, then they'd hold the start back and call it a wet race and allow everybody to change tyres. But at the moment, it's stopped raining.
Okay, thanks, Ian. We'll possibly cross back down to you, depending on what Webbo does. Drama before the race has even started here.
Ian Guy is a weatherman, that's a new one. But yeah, Steve Webster will make the choice as he's going around the circuit, and I'm sure if it's anything like suitable for the race to be run on slicks, there'll be no problem. But I think there could be problems if Steve decides that it's too wet and it's not a 2-second job to change wheels, so we'll see a slight delay if Mr. Webster decides that.
Yes, well, of course, to change the wheels on these machines, you must take the whole fairing off. That means the centre section with the you just behind the number 1 on Abbott's machine, but also the sidecar guard on the left-hand side of the machine, right hand on your screen. So that's how you get all 3 wheels on these machines. It will probably take 2 to 3 minutes if they're very, very quick.
Yeah, I was going to hazard a guess there, Robert, about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, depending on the team, of course, and the design of chassis. But, yeah, it wouldn't take them too long, but hopefully we're going to get out on slicks.
Well, we have no puddles on the track at the moment. Looks like a dry track. Even if there is a little bit of water, as long as it's not standing water and we get no more rain, then it's good for a dry race. But if there is puddles on the circuit and or if we get a sprinkling of rain now, then I think we have a bit of a drama.
Yeah, the other problem, of course, is that slick tyres run more efficiently with a higher temperature, and if they're not using the actual track in the dry conditions to raise the temperature, you get problems anyway. And yeah, very difficult with slick tyres in anything other than nigh on perfect conditions.
There's the locals, Van Gils, Martin and Tony, the father-son duo, and wouldn't they be wishing for a great result here? 5th on the grid with so many fans here, and they have had some setup trouble. In fact, yesterday they blistered a front tyre. Just thinking about what they've done for the weekend, they admitted it was their setup that was wrong. They had the caster angle wrong on the front wheel, and it blistered the right-hand side of their front tyre.
I was about to make a mind-blowing statement there, Rob, about the Dutch pair winning the Grand Prix. That would be absolutely fantastic. But I do tend to remember maybe 7 or 8 years ago, there was a Dutch team who I can't remember for the life of me at the moment that did win the Grand Prix here, and it sent the crowd absolutely mad.
Yeah, was that in the days of someone called Stroyer, Norman?
Egbert Stroyer with Lucky Strike. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Right, okay. Well, Lucky Norman's memory bank is working overtime here.
Also, Rob, just a quick one on the Van Gils. Well, we must talk about the local crew. And yeah, they had a podium here in 2001 and finished 3rd. I mean, that was absolutely, that again sent the crowd wild.
Yeah, well, they've had a couple of podiums, a couple of Monza actually, 2 third places in 2 years for them at Monza. So 3 overall for their career is pretty good.
Something special though to be on the podium at your home Grand Prix.
So the crowd comes round. Look in the background, that grey sky.
Yeah, I don't like it there, Rob. I'll tell you what they're actually doing at the moment on this warm-up lap. They're literally warming the driver up, warming the passenger up, and warming the engine up, and the tyres. Everything is down to the warm-up lap is very, very important, because as soon as the flag or the lights change, they're away, and everything needs to be at running temperature.
So Webster holding them up nicely here. You see Steinhausen just wandering from side to side. Very long track, over 6 kilometres here. So this warm-up lap will take a while, and Webster won't want to keep those guys at the end of the grid from stringing out too much.
In real terms, Rob, and in old money, it's 3 3/4 miles long, which is a long, long track. And yeah, I think at the start of the race we're going to see some excitement. There's not the right-hander that you normally get on a circuit. They get a fairly good run up to it, and we should see some fairly gentlemanly conduct through the corner.
Well, we'll see. We've got the top 5 spread over 6 this time. Normally we call the top 5, including Klaffenbach, who's in 6th place there. Van Gils has entered the fray there in 5th place onto the grid. But we have seen some pretty good starts. Bill Philp in 8th place so far on the grid. He's a pretty good starter normally.
Rob, what I'm going to throw in here is Klaus Klaffenbach. He's had nothing but problems in qualifying, and I think we're talking about Webster, Abbott, Hanks and the rest of them, because we're forgetting about the problems that Klaffenbach's had, and I think he could come up trumps.
Well, just stretching my mind back, I think he qualified about 8th here last year because of engine problems with some water, well, definitely the overheating problems. That was running the 1150cc R1. But, yep, everyone running 1,000. We got the flags up. We got the lights going out. We're just going to check. Red lights going on, waiting for a start. Held for a long time there on the grid, a very long time. Abbott gets a jump. Abbott and Steinhausen both get the jump on Webster and look like they've gone one either side of Webster down the straight. Van Gils slots in beside Klaffenbach as well, but it's Steinhausen that leads through that first kink of the chicane.
Yes, it's Steinhausen, Abbott, Webster.
So, looks like everyone's getting through there reasonably smoothly. There's the Steenbergers, the wild card, look to be in about 8th. Is that Billy Gauros? No, it's Jock Skeen actually running off the track there, but manages to get straight back on. Webster, Klaffenbach, Van Gils, that's 3rd, 4th, 5th there. Steinhausen, Abbott, Webster, Klaffenbach, Van Gils, Hanks, Skeen and Gatt. That's how they run through the first quarter of the lap.
Usual Steinhausen start, got a flyer, puts the rubber down on the track and away he goes.
Wow, what a start. And Steinhausen seems to be leaving Abbott there. Webster will definitely not sit back. I think, especially with the threat of a wet race, the threat of an interrupted race, Webster will be looking to get past Ab as soon as possible.
Yeah, what is it? Such a long lap here, Rob. I think they'll be weighing the situation up, and just one lap. Steve Webster's looking now on the inside of Abbott, on the outside of Abbott. He's either going to go under him or go over him. He's going to get past him one way or the other.
Well, what we'll look for is the strange lines, strange to anyone else, but Webster lines around Assen. He goes in a little bit wider, holds a wide apex on some corners, and just holds some incredible corner speed around these flowing corners. And there it is, Webster's hit Abbott. Webster hits Abbott from behind.
He actually touched Jamie Biggs there, and that'll have unnerved Jamie somewhat, and he'll now be looking. Abbott will probably know nothing about it, but he definitely touched Jamie Biggs there.
That is a rare mistake from the many times winner of this race. You see him going in there with much, much higher corner speed, as I was talking about. Abbott with a masterful save of the slide as he got pushed from the rear. Jamie Biggs looks to be okay. The front of Webster's chassis is showing the battle scars from hitting Jamie Biggs in the back of the passenger platform.
Yeah, Jamie will know about that, but there Abbott is aware now, obviously, that Steve Webster's on his tail.
That's Van Gils going through. Van Gils absolutely out of control into the final chicane, went underneath Klaffenbach, nearly took out Webster, and unfortunately he's lost a couple of places there, but Van Gils with a kamikaze move.
Yeah, basically just too fast there, Rob.
What are these guys doing? Is it the threat of rain? Is it slightly slippery out there? We've seen a couple of guys going way too hot under brakes.
And there's Steve Webster again looking at Steve Abbott, but yes, Abbott looks to have the brakes on Steve Webster at this moment in time, but you can't believe everything you see from Steve Webster.
Klaffenbach coming up too. Klaffenbach from his 6th place on the grid, but he's right with the second, third, fourth battle. But of course, this battle is letting Steinhausen get out in front. Abbott's blocking lines, although he might have bitten off a bit more than he can chew there. No, oh, look at the slides from Abbott. He's trying very, very hard to keep Webster behind him.
Yes, and he's using the soft tyre and all, Rob, so this may be... eventually this will I'm sure could turn into a tyre war. I'm absolutely sure of that now, because lots and lots of very difficult corners on this circuit, Rob, and it will take its fair wear and tear on the rubber.
Yeah, the amazing action, the rubber game. Did you say he's running a soft rear tyre, Abbott?
Yes, he's running a soft and a medium front.
A medium front? Yeah. OK, I heard rumours that he was going to run the I front, which is a hard front. I suspect that's what Webster will be running.
Yeah, and Steve Webster still looking on the inside of Steve Abbott. Looking again on the inside, about to make a move there, but thought better of it. While this battle's going on, of course, Mr. Steinhausen is clearing off, and these second, third and fourth are slowing themselves down and giving Jörg Steinhausen a good chance to put a little bit of space between them.
OK, we've got Steinhausen 2 seconds a lap quicker than Abbott on that last lap. That's amazing at this part of the race. I can't understand it. Webster underneath Abbott there. That's a tidy move for a change from Webster. That first one was a bit rough.
You can see the damage on the front of his fairing and all. This is contact that he's had with Steve Abbott during the second lap. But yes, I'm sure the wily Derbyshire Fox will still be watching Steve Webster.
Klaffenbach down the inside on Abbott. Klaffenbach, another aggressive move.
That was a classic move there, Rob. Drafted him and passed him.
So Klaffenbach not wanting to waste any time either. Ab will have to settle down here. The blood pressure will be racing, having been hit by Webster, and then having both of them go past him a couple of laps later. So Ab might just take a bit of a stop here.
I told you there, Rob, Klaus Klaffenbach is the dark horse in this one. Through his bad qualifying, all sorts of difficult engine problems, and now he's coming good. And Klaus Klaffenbach, lots of aggression, tailing Steve Webster at the moment. But I think we'll see a classical Klaffenbach move here, draft and pass.
Yeah, unfortunately for Menge, he's out. Number 29, a technical problem. Wow, look at the rubber off Klaffenbach's rear tyre. He's really spinning it up, and look at Webster's gap. This is what I was talking about before, the different lines that Webster takes. He's just got 7 or 8 bike lengths in one corner from Klaus Klaffenbach.
Looks really spectacular, Rob, when they leave a big black line on the circuit and a little bit of rubber smoke, but actually what it's doing is costing them valuable time.
And another puff of smoke from Abbott there, just trying to determine whether it's out the exhaust or off of the rear tyre or the sidecar tyre under brakes. But Webster is on a mission here. Webster is going to be catching Steinhausen, although Steinhausen's got a quick lap so far, 2:10.9, which is faster than he's done all weekend. Steinhausen, of course, qualified with a 2:12, so he's gone 2 seconds faster in the race than he did in qualifying.
Yeah,
oh, we got the Van Gils out. That looks to be a bit of an off on the circuit rather than a technical problem. They're going again, so looks like Martin's had a bit of a spin somewhere.
Yeah, that is the pressure, Rob, of his home Grand Prix with his sponsors, his family and friends. Everybody will be here for this one, and I think it's putting him under extreme pressure.
Well, he's definitely putting on a show for us. Down the straight again, 10 laps to go. We've had 3. And the excitement so far, Webster with a 2:09.
Yes, and Steve Abbott's moved on the inside again. The wily Derbyshire Fox moved on the inside of Claffey.
So interrupted there by Norman Burgess. Was that a bit of preference there for Abbott showing in your commentary?
I've got to remain absolutely even Stephen here, but yeah, it was a good move from Abbott. A classic draft and pass move.
Yeah, we'll watch Abbott. Hanks also just behind. Hanks is only 1.4 seconds off of that battle, and he has been a lot smarter this year, Tom Hanks, as I dread to say, the thinking man's sidecar racer.
Yeah, Tom is changing his attitude from the British Formula 2 days, and he's saving his tyres, looking after his tyres, and doing sort of the clever thing now in sidecar racing.
Klaus Klaffenbach absolutely opposite, locking it through that right-hander.
Look at the rubber he's leaving on the circuit. And again, Rob, as I say, you can see it's costing him time, and it'll also cost him time later in the race when his tyres become worn.
Here's a replay Klaffenbach, look at the attitude that machine's got. It's absolutely sideways. The front wheel drifting at the end there just to get it back in line. What a crafty piece of work from Klaffenbach. We've seen him aggressive. In the break after Brands Hatch, he went to Mallory Park and he was very, very aggressive there on that tight circuit. And yeah, I think he's got a newfound enthusiasm.
Yeah, but we've got to look at the young British up-and-coming driver Tom Hanks now. Tom he's got his sights on Abbott and Klaffenbach, and as I say, with the new strategy of saving the tyres, he's coming better towards the end of the races, and I think we can see Tom Hanks towards the end of this 13-lap race with a little bit more attitude, and he'll be catching those two.
So no rain on the screens yet, no umbrellas up in the stands. Looks like we're having a dry race so far.
Yeah, Steve Webster catching Claffey a little bit there, but it's still Steinhausen leading from Steve Webster with Abbott, Klaffenbach, Hanks and Phil.
Steve Webster, the master of Assen, he's done a 2:08.3. That has obliterated his lap record. That is a fast lap of Assen.
Unbelievable, Rob. I mean, he's taken the lap record by nigh on 2 seconds, 2.11 seconds. That is absolutely unbelievable.
Almost as unbelievable as your mathematics. That is, well, he's closed up right there on Hautzenberger and Simons getting right in Webbo's way. Hautzenberger and Simons having that bad shoulder injury. They're just hoping to get some points out of this race. You can see he's working well on the passenger platform. Seems to be holding on well with no ill effects to the shoulder there. And unfortunately getting in the way early in the race, but not a problem for Webster. Look at the gap he's closed.
Steinhausen is now in the way of Webster.
Yeah, Webster, who's just pulled it out. He's got almost 2 seconds a lap over Steinhausen in that last one. But will we see what happened at Mazzano? Will he burn up his rear tyre? Will he blister it?
Well, I think the 8 times world champion is a quick learner, and Steve, I think, is going to take a move here and get past Steinhausen, and then he'll run the race to his pace, and I'm sure he'll know the wear on his tyre and what pace to run.
Yeah, well, Steinhausen all weekend has had setup trouble. He's had changing the suspension, the compression and the rebound to try and get things right. He blistered a front tyre like Van Gils did, because the camber of the road here is different to most racetracks. And so the right-hand side of his tyre got very, very hot, the front tyre that is, and problems. Couldn't test in them in the dry until the race because it was a wet qualifying session at lunchtime today. And now here he is, he's led it for 4 laps, but he has Webster right behind him.
Yes, and he'll know that now with his pit signals exactly, and I think we're going to see...
So let's watch the different lines. Stein behind him here, I think he's smart enough to do that. And if he can hold the lines, he might be right. Here's the move, straightforward move, underpowered down the straight.
Power, very well does Steve Webster, and yeah, I think we'll see a little gap begin to form now.
Well, last lap was a bit slower for Webbo with that traffic. He only did a 2:10, which is still under his lap.
With it now, I'm sure that he'll wear the tyre, he'll use the tyre to the best of his ability, and I don't think we'll see another episode of Steve Webster shredding tyres.
The battle for third now hotting up with Hanks joining the fray. He's only 0.7 of a second off the back there of Klaffenbach and Abbott. So battle for third. I think we will see Hanks coming through. He's done his fastest lap in the last lap. So, but they are a long way back from these leading duo.
Yeah, what I'm doing now, Rob, is nicknaming Tom Hanks as a thinking man sidecar driver because he's actually saving his tyres, and yeah, towards the end of the race, as predicted, he'll give a run, and I think Abbott and Claffey can look out.
Okay, I'll let you have that one, Norman. Thinking man sidecar racer. I'm pretty sure that I would have said that earlier in the commentary, but no, you can have it. Back to the lead here. Webster, he has opened the gap.
Yeah, but not as much as I thought there, Rob. After he'd thrown a 2:08 lap in, I thought probably bring the pace down to about 2:09. But Jörg Steinhausen is hanging on in there.
Definitely. They'll cross the line here for lap 6. And there it is, 0.3 of a second, a 2:09.7 and a 2:10.3. So a little bit of change in the lap time there. But Steinhausen, if he can run low 2:10s, maybe he can put it to Webster in the latter half of this race.
Yeah, if he can run 2:10s consistently. But I've just got to say again, Rob, I think it's going to be a tyre problem.
Klaffenbach has Abbott now. Klaffenbach with a 2:10 as well, crosses the line. Abbott slower with a 2:12, and Hanks on the back of that pack. There looks to be an incident there because Hanks has dropped 2 seconds off of that battle. So just when we said Hanks was coming up to join them, maybe it was the back marker, maybe it was Houtsey, but we can only speculate from up here.
Yeah, it looks like he's obviously had some sort of problem, and more than likely it will be a back marker.
Although he did have a problem in the session earlier today when Phil Biggs left the control room, so to speak, around the latter half of the circuit. Phil told me it was brain fade when he let go. Forgot to go left at the right moment. The machine went left. He went out the back, dragged along for a while. He said he could probably last until the chicane, just dragging along behind the bike. But then his foot got a little bit too hot from the friction of the track. Tough man, Phil Biggs.
Yeah, and the little problem, actually, they flipped the outfit over and that is a major problem, Rob, but I'm sure they soon got it sorted out, though, and he actually rode the machine back to the paddock, so not too much of a drama. And now he's, Tom, he's looking at his times, he's just tailing off slightly.
Yeah, we'll check next lap whether it was a back marker or whether it was, well, maybe the effects of that incident earlier on today. Webster doesn't seem to be having too many problems after he's, well, normally wouldn't say he's bashed people out of the way to get to the lead, but that telltale mark on the front of the fairing there, yeah, first lap incident with Abbott.
Yeah, that tells you the full story, but yeah, still under half a second in it between Webster and Claffey, and I think Claffey could be hanging on in there.
Well, past the halfway point of this race now. There's Rocha and Harney, number 55, on the back of Reeves there. That is the batter for 10th place there. Reeves just joining us. This is his second race this year for the M&M team. Did well at Brands until he had an electrical problem in the wet, and Rocha and Harney have been racing a fair bit together, very, very consistently this year. Raced at Lausitzring last week in the German Championship, and unfortunately had an ignition problem there that's kept them out of the race, but reliable in all of the World Championship races this year.
Ex-British champion, and yes, I think he's just feeling his way into the team and taking it reasonably steady, and we'll see improvements from Tim Reeves all for the rest of the season, I'm sure.
I think he's got a shift light under that fairing there. Just watching his visor there as he goes along. When he changes the gears, a big flash of red light pops into his visor, sort of really indicating when he should be changing up a gear.
Yeah, it's what we call a safety margin here, Rob, and yeah, he does have a bright red light just come on, and that tells him time to change gear.
Okay, looks like we've got a problem for Chris Founds. I think it's an engine problem by the sounds of it, so yeah, I see his crew moving over the thing. Oh, that's Morrissey. That's Darren Harper out of the Morrissey outfit. He's lost his visor. It's a big tumble there. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. Morrissey and Harper can't pick up where it is on the circuit.
Yeah, he looks okay though, Rob. He may be a little winded.
Yeah, it looks like he's following Chris Founds. Oh, that's a big problem. What looks like it's happened there is he's hit Chris Founds. Harper's in the wrong spot there, and yeah, Harper's fallen out there.
Rob, I'm going to tell you what's happened here. I'm telling you now what's happened. That engine seems to have blown up. Look at the fire behind them. No, that's the light, but it looks as though there may be oil on the outfit.
Well, I'm going to have a few more guesses at this before we work it out.
This is reminiscent of Brands Hatch.
Yes, unfortunately Morrissey went upside down in practice at Brands Hatch. Darren Harper looks okay there. The eyes just lining up in the sockets. Yeah, no, he's all right from initial looks.
Yeah, he's a tough cookie. He'll be okay, Rob.
Let's have a go at Ian Guy in pit lane. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, it looked like Chris Founds blew his engine up going into that first corner, and Dan Morrissey was following. I think the smoke you saw might have been a locked wheel on the oil, and that just put poor Darren in the wrong place at the wrong time for that first corner, but everybody looks to be okay.
Okay, thanks, Ian, for that. Another theory on this is that Darren Harper's arm has had a bit of a rubbing against the rear tyre. I saw some debris on his right arm, but he looks okay with that.
Yeah, we've seen that before, Rob, and yes, he looks like he probably had his arm trapped under the wheel arch for temporarily, and got a bit of blue smoke off it, pitched him off the bike, and he looks okay.
Yeah, Darren's a tough cookie, and yeah, he had that upside down at Brands Hatch, recovered later on in the day to race, and yeah, going pretty well.
There we've got the wily Derbyshire Fox, Steve Abbott now, again, trailing Klaus Klaffenbach, and I think that Abbott's now looks much quicker than Klaffenbach, and probably, I've got to say this, oh, there was a blue smoke from somewhere then, but I'm sure Abbott's is saving his tyres somewhat, and he's about to make his move on lap 13.
Well, action-packed race. Maybe some of these guys have forgotten they've got another race tomorrow. That's something we haven't talked about yet. There is a round 8 happens tomorrow, and these guys have to get these machines into shape for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of midnight oil burnt this evening. The race is at 4:45 tomorrow, Rob. So there'll be lots of effort, lots of engine changes, all sorts of problems that they usually have weeks to sort out. They've got actually about 24 hours to do it.
Well, Chris Founds will probably be getting on the phone into check out some parts for an end. Morrissey as well, a bit of duct tape required there. Steinhausen, last lap he did his fastest lap, it was a 2:09.
I'm sure it's all the pressure is under with his. He's recovered and he's in 9th place and lapping in the 2:16s, lapping reasonably well.
So anyway, we'll catch up with the top 10 here. Webster, Steinhausen, Klaffenbach. Abbott just behind Klaffenbach from Hanks, Philp, Gatt, Van Gils and Reeves. That's your top 10. Looks like we're going to have a bit more action in the remaining few laps as well.
Yeah, looking down the field there, battle for 8th place with Van Gils and Richard Gatt, and yeah, that's Gils through the field.
Webster crosses the line and has answered challenge. 2:09.3 from Webster there, just pulls out a second. Okay, towards the end of the race, just to keep that gap of 1.3 seconds a little bit open.
Yeah, that's lap 10 of 13, Rob, and Webster's about to put the in like he's run now onto Yorkstein. Then Abbott has now taken Klaffenbach.
Abbott with another move in this battle with Klaffenbach. The two battling together. I was just looking at rear tyres to make sure. Okay, Klaffenbach looks to battle back. It's obviously going into a blind spot there. Abbott wouldn't have been able to see him.
Oh, this is going to be a real battle here, Rob, between Abbott and Klaffenbach, because neither will give any quarter, and we can see now Klaus Klaffenbach, he'll be sat on the tail of world champion Steve Abbott, and he'll be making moves, and I think we're going to see a cracking battle now for the laps.
Also, it looks like Hanks has got a problem in 19 on that last lap. That's 8 seconds down from what he should be doing. 19 seconds back from Klaffenbach.
Yeah, he dropped down into 5th place. Sometimes with calling Tom the thinking man, maybe he has got a tyre problem. Maybe we can't tell at this stage, but this is the battle here for 3rd place between Abbott and Klaffenbach.
Have you got pit lane for me?
Yeah, Rob, I'm here with Brian Ditchfield. Brian, Tom seems to be having a bit of a problem there.
Not really, I mean, the bike sounds okay. Philip got knocked about pretty bad this morning when he got dragged through a couple of corners before he let go. I don't know, I'm only guessing. Maybe he's knocked about, you know, I don't know. Looking at the body language, he seems to be keeping his head down and he's quite quiet. He's not moving around as he normally does, so I think Tom's just looking after him. And
Phil Biggs was beaten up a little bit more in that qualifying earlier today.
Yeah, look at Klaus Klaffenbach now. He's stalking Abbott, and a draft and Klaus Klaffenbach. Very aggressive, these two, and though, as I said before, there's going to be no...
Yes, 2 laps to go. Abbott and Biggs, Klaffenbach and Parzer. Moving into turn 1, Abbott exits onto the grass, that slowed him up. The thing about Assen is you've got to join the curves together. Make a mistake somewhere early in a set of curves and you'll pay for it on the exits.
I wouldn't like my mortgage riding on the...
They will be...
And at this stage of the race, I don't think it really matters whether we're putting rubber down or keeping it on with 2 laps to go. These boys are going to go for it.
Yes, the hammer is down. Klaffenbach is going for it behind Abbott. They've got no one else to play with, I think. Just Abbott and Klaffenbach.
And Steve Webster's sort of put a fairly decent gap between York Steinhausen
convincingly in front of them. So, yeah, Barron Chain, good result. But it is, there's Mick Webster looking at the screens, taking a deep breath. Half a lap to go now, Mick, don't worry.
Yeah, and a battle going on between Philp and Skeen and all in 6th and 7th spot.
And Abbott has done his fastest lap of the race on lap 12 of 13. Traditional Abbott, a 2:10.4.
Yes, the Austrians are coming, and he's been warned as Abbott. He looks like he's ready his pit board, and yeah, he's put his toe down and done the fastest lap on a 2:10.4. Perfect.
So Webster goes past. Steinhausen is past the Fleuries, and Steinhausen looks to be in a comfortable second place now. 14 seconds back to Abbott. So
Rob, I'm looking forward to the champagne already.
Webster can cruise now. Webster's won 5 times here before. He's had 7 podiums. He loves the place. He's won here before with Paul Woodhead. He's won with, I think he's won with each one of his World Championship passengers in his career.
Yeah, excellent. Very much like Fogarty in the World Superbike. This was one of his favourite tracks. And obviously Steve Webster, with all the winning he does here, yeah, tremendous record.
So into the chicane for the last time. Paul Woodhead onto his knees again. Prepares for the line. And there it is. The punch for victory. Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead win at Assen, round 7 of the Superside FIM Sidecar World Championship.
Yeah, and 6.5 seconds behind York Steinhausen.
Here's the battle for third. Klaffenbach's just gone under. Abbott into the chicane. The Austrians are coming and they've stolen it at the last chicane.
Unbelievable. And I'm telling you there, Rob, that I was looking forward to the champagne. We really missed the... that must have been a fantastic last lap from Klaus Klaffenbach.
Wow, what a move from Claffey, but Steinhausen rolled across the line in second. Great result for Jörg Steinhausen, Trevor Hopkinson. Klaffenbach with a great move into the chicane. Final lap stuff for Klaffenbach and Parzer.
Yeah, that puts Webbo 15 points into the lead now, Rob, so reasonably comfortable in the terms of sidecar racing. But yes, I mean, I'm telling you that I was looking forward to the drink of champagne from Abbott, and lo and behold, Klaffenbach must have put in a cracking last lap.
Well, I think I might have to get you in trouble later on and mention that to Steve Abbott, but no, we'll see how we go.
Good ride from Jock Skeen in 7th place there, Rob.
Yeah, Skeen and Miller, they've had some trouble, but he was hoping for a wet race. He loves a wet. Didn't go his way. Gatt and Randall, the British champions, in 8th. Then the Van Gils recovered and stayed on track after that kamikaze start for 9th place. Just waiting for Reeves to come over for 10th. That'll be a good result for them.
Yeah, second race ever in the World Championship, so good result there, 10th place for Tim Reeves. Good drive there from Tim. Like I say, new team, only the second time in World Championship racing, and very respectable 10th place. But the battle between Gatt and Van Gils, Gatt got the better of the local pairing of Van Gils, but yeah, an excellent race. There again in the 11th place, just going down there, Rob. 11th place, Billy Galros, the Swedish flyer, the grandfather from Sweden. I'm sure he's excellent ride there in 11th place, because he had a bit of a qualifying.
Yes, well, he was telling me earlier that he had an ignition gremlin for the last few rounds, between 10.8 and 11.5 grand in the rev range. Just a bit of a gremlin, and he solved that now, so he's quite happy. So there it is, the standings. Webster, 141 points, 5 wins. Klaffenbach, 126 points with 1 win. Steinhausen, 101 points with 1 win. So now we've got 75 points left in the championship.
Yeah, and we've got the Brummies coming. Hanks is now chasing Abbott. He's jumped up a spot as Tom Hanks on that ride over the Van Gils and Russia. Well done there, Tom.
And also Bill Philp just getting into the top 8 there. So in his rookie year as well, Bill Philp, top of the rookies so far in 2003.
I've got to go back to the battle for 3rd place, Rob. I'm absolutely amazed at the lap that Claffey's put in there. He's not only has he robbed Abbott of 3rd place in a podium position, but he's also robbed me of my champagne.
So Webster waves to some of the people he would have waved to 10 years ago, I'd say, in the stands.
Yeah, great sidecar driver, heading towards his 9th World Championship.
There's Jürgen Trevor there, just rolling into pit lane. I think actually they've missed the pit lane entry there and had to go through the chicane again. Actually, that's where his fans were, on the chicane, so he's just gone to say hello to them.
And a good ride from you. I'm sure he's quite satisfied with that one. Anybody that can finish second to Steve Webster, he's got to be really, really satisfied, and I'll be very happy in third place because of the nightmare qualifying.
And there it is, the cheers from the crowd for Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead.
Absolutely soaking up the victory there, and he plays it to the last, does Steve Webster, and rightly so. I mean, that was a good, well-calculated race for Steve Webster. No tyre problems, no engine problems. He sat behind them for a couple of laps where, well, everything got sorted out, and then made his move, and basically, I would say that Steve Webster, more or less, has led the race from the start because he had the way up, and he was catching him, and then he threw in that fantastic 2:08 lap, and I'm sure he could have been doing 2:08 laps all day long.
Well, he did some 2:09s in there for a fair while. I don't think he could have done the whole race at 2:08. It's a very special lap.
Yeah, he was a good lap there, Rob.
And he saves that sort of lap for final qualifying, and where he can just do as much as he lap. Loves that final qualifying lap. Here he is with the opportunity to do it in a race. He's pulled out a 2-3. Unbelievable for Webster. Congratulations from his team now.
Yeah, and his dad there, Mick, he's still listening, and well, a good, great team effort.
Webster just racing. I'm not sure what he's doing there.
This really annoys me, Rob. Steve Webster actually takes, and you'd just think he'd been out for a Sunday afternoon in the park. I mean, Steve, everything coming off me, puts into it, but dead casual, doesn't look as though he's done absolutely. Yeah, there he is, dead cool.
Climbing the stairs to the podium now. We're going to have Steve's son up there as well. Flags fly at Assen. We've had a dry race, and it has been a fantastic spectacle.
That was his 56th win, by the way.
Yes, well, only 6 seconds in the end. Steinhausen